Waxman, and perhaps we should reflect when he contacted me and gave me this invitation from Redbridge PSC, and I'm really grateful. We don't know each other well. I feel like we should have known each other before we have. I feel we're kindred spirits. It's been beautiful to march through the streets with you today, and I was particularly keen to come here. I feel sure this man technically is my boss. I'm a vascular surgeon. I've not met him. One of my good friends, Bob Gill, met him many years ago. He was the shadow health minister for Jeremy Corbyn, of all people. And when he met him, he came back and said, no, this man is not our ally. This man is an enemy. He's an arch privatizer of the NHS. I've not come here to speak about the NHS today, really. But I've written a little article. Labour's plan for the NHS is Medicare for the UK. Wes Streeting is walking around at the moment saying he's sorting out the NHS because he's cutting a waiting list by a few 100,000.
Lies!
It is lies. It's lies because the waiting list is more than 7 million. It's been deliberately created during the COVID time, and they're using that waiting list to constantly push further privatisation, hammering the NHS. It's an embarrassment sometimes to be in front of patients and tell them they can't have a scan for a year's time. I don't have anything I can do about it because I'm not really in charge. People like Wes Streeting are in charge. Wes Streeting, I can't talk about all the policies that he's introduced in order to make it a revolving door between the businesses that are seeking to privatise and hammer the NHS, make profit from it, and those who manage the NHS from the inside in order to further those changes. But he is pushing those, and make no friend, it's a crime that he has Save Our Services on the outside of his constituency offices, because he's absolutely in the business of hammering the NHS and hammering your right to the healthcare that you have paid for. More and more people in our country are being forced to take private healthcare. It's not helping the NHS. It's making those people pay twice and twice through the nose, paying for the service they didn't receive, paying for the service, a substandard service they'll get in the private sector. But more than that, while he's taking donations from private health, from big business in the city, we all know that he's also putting this agenda, a Zionist agenda, a pro-Israel agenda within the NHS. I've been a victim of that. I went to a demonstration, and now, in November 2023, I've been in demonstrations my whole life. I've been demonstrating for Palestine my whole life, and we must never lose sight that this is about Palestine. It's the right of the Palestinian people to live without occupation, without imprisonment, without trial. We talk about Israeli hostages. 10,000, 20,000 Palestinians have been interred without any trial within Israeli prisons and jails, tortured and very often killed, many of them health workers. We've seen the health system of Gaza destroyed and obliterated. We've seen endless occupation and a genocide widely recognized as such throughout the world, including by the highest court, the highest international court. And what is the consequence? What is the consequence for those involved in that occupation? What is the consequence for those who are supporters of Zionism? They're so deeply linked to the power in our country. They sit down. Wes Streeting sat down now over a year ago and promised to roll out the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism to the NHS, and he delivered on that promise in November last year. And that means that every single healthcare worker in this country, that's 1.5 million people, will be subject to the same treatment that I have been. And that means they will interpret existing laws and existing regulatory frameworks that affect the right of every single one of us to work and live in light of this definition which very definitely is not an anti-racist definition. It's a definition, as many people have pointed out today, which prevents the criticism of Israel as a state, which stops you saying quite legitimately that the practices that Israel is involved in are fascistic. Israel is a fascist state.
Yes.
A settler colonial entity involved in genocide.
Yes.
And yet, if you say that this is akin to fascism, you're guilty of a crime against the IHRA definition. You're guilty of anti-Semitism. Therefore, you're bringing your profession into disrepute. Therefore, you're subject to proceedings, Article 7 proceedings with the GMC, and you're liable to be struck off. And that means that everyone who speaks for justice, who advocates for justice, who says that I'm against war in the Middle East, I'm against endless colonial wars and occupation, I'm against the bombing and obliterating of the healthcare systems of an entire nation, I'm against the endless wars and colonization. We live in a world in which there is no international law. Can you feel that palpably? In the last 2 years that we've learned that there is no international law. The Balfour Declaration was signed in 1917. And as far as the British are concerned, the British imperialist establishment who conceived and implanted Zionism and created the settlers' colonial state, they have simply written the Palestinian people out of existence. And that's why it's so beautiful to hear that occupation is a crime, that resistance is glorious, chanted as we walk through the streets of Ilford today, because the Palestinian people beg to differ.
Yes!
The Palestinian people have found themselves through no fault of their own on the cutting edge of the anti-imperialist struggle, and they refuse with all their humanity, with all their right to be human beings, with the same dignity as you or I, to go into the good night quietly. They are fighting for their right to existence, and we support their right to resistance.
Yes! Heroes!
Let me just come to this campaign. So I am here today as someone who has been a founding member of our Right to Protest. Okay, Right to Protest Limited is a limited company we set up to fight against this increasing repression. The repression that means hundreds of people, thousands of people have been lifted off demonstrations, thousands of doctors, nurses, healthcare workers have been pressed at work, lawyers have been trying to be struck off, all at the hands of the Zionist lobby. Don't forget, when I talk about political policing and repression, when I went to this demonstration, was arrested, I've done nothing different than I've done my whole life. But what was new is that there are Zionist activists, groups, working directly with the police on demonstrations, pointing out the people they want arrested. Oh, this person has got a little parachute sign on the back of their coat. Arrest them, they're an anti-Semite. This person has a headscarf I don't like. Arrest them, they're an anti-Semite. This person has a badge that I don't like. Triangle, a red triangle. Definite sign of terrorism. Of course, obliterating babies, obliterating hospitals, all that's fine. You can be a soldier of the IDF, so-called the Israeli army, involved in genocide, come back and go back to your work as a respected member of Sheffield University, being their pastor, looking after their moral. But it's unconscionable for a doctor to stand against a genocide, because that genocide is a state-sponsored genocide sanctioned by Wes Streeting, who we know has been a friend of the Israel lobby since he was a student and leader of the NUS, and they called him out as such, and we know receives a huge amount of funding from them. He's been the instrument of rolling out the IHRA definition, and this is a definition actually which has a long history I can't go into here, but was adopted by Theresa May in 2016 for the country. Were any of you told? Were any of you informed? Were any of you asked?
No!
Every single major political party, including, ironically, Corbyn's Labour Party. Corbyn led the Labour Party to adopt it, has adopted it, and precisely because it's non-legally binding, they've rolled it out in a quasi-legal way. And they've got more and more institutions, universities, schools, little boys sent home from school during a genocide for wearing a Palestine badge.
Yes!
His parents victimized and intimidated and told he doesn't have the right to come to school unless he removes it.
Racism!
It is racism. And that's what's so twisted and brilliant, evil genius about it. You know? All of us abhor racism. We fight for and believe in equality. And we're being told that if we stand against a racist, genocidal apartheid state, that we're racist. We say we will never tolerate that, we will never accept it, and we will fight the IHRA definition. I'm going to finish. I'm going to pass out some leaflets to you. We are crowdfunding in order to take a judicial review out against this decision to get the IHRA rolled back from the NHS. We have put in that judicial review. There will be legal costs associated. We've instructed a barrister, we've instructed solicitors, we've got a lot of good campaigners who are involved with that campaign. And I've got this small leaflet here. Can I just need to hold this 1 second? Sorry. I've got this small leaflet here. I'm going to ask you to pass it out amongst yourselves Can you take those and pass them out?
Yep.
And if you could look at that, it's got a little QR code on it. It'll take you through to the crowdfunding page. I don't like to beg for money, but this is not about money for me. This is about money actually to protect you,
If you
to
can
protect
pass to
healthcare
them,
workers.
please.
All of us
I'm just
are members of
recording.
unions that are meant to stand up for our rights, but they are not doing so. They're not doing so, and we must make sure that we stand up for ourselves. We must get this definition thrown out, or every single one of you will be a subject of this kind of victimization at your place of work. Brothers and sisters, I've spoken too long. It's a pleasure to be with you today on such an important occasion to send a very clear message to Streeting that far from being our next Prime Minister, we wish to see him in the dock of a People's Tribunal.
Yeah!